Good evening. Design Review Board 2 public meeting of August 27th, 2009 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker's cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current DRB agendas are available by calling our DRB hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that the appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. This will be a roll call. Mr. Baladian?
Here.
Mr. Garagos? Absent. Mr. Malikian?
Here.
Ms. Sakai?
Here.
Mr. Zarifian? Absent. Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on August 20th, 2009. Oral communications. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on an item not a part of this agenda? Doesn't look like it. Then we're down to our review calendar. We do not have any staff announcements. There's nothing on consent, and so we'll start with the regular calendar. The first item is on Farista.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes. Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you. The first item of tonight is located at 3624 Farista Street, case number 2 PDR 2009-0568. The proposal is to add 187 square feet to the existing one-story house at the rear and 583 square feet to a new second story. The existing house is an 828 square foot house and has a detached garage at the rear, which is proposed to remain. The proposal also, by the way, includes some minor facade changes at the front. The project is exempt from CEQA. It's located in the R12 zone. First time submittal for final review. The historic preservation planner has reviewed the project and has determined that the existing house is not of historic resource. I would also like to mention for the record that there is a wood deck at the rear of the property which is abutting the property line. I did make a site visit, walked the site with the owner, and I made it clear to him that since the deck is over 18 inches in height, will have to be set back 6 feet at least from the rear and the side. Now it's up to them whether they want to cut it back or remove the entire deck, but it is part of the staff recommendation. Staff recommends a return for redesign for this project with 7 conditions. I'll go over those quickly. One is to redesign the massing to differentiate the ground floor and the second floor at both side elevations. Redesign the massing at the rear to eliminate the vertically oriented appearance. Introduce an additional material for the exterior finish to help enhance the architecture as well as help reduce the overall massing of the second story as viewed from the sides and the rear. Simplify the rear balcony rail to match the style of the balcony and the house. Reconsider the size and placement of the windows to improve the design on all elevations. Redesign the roof forms for a more proportionate structure. And lastly, remove portions of the wood deck which I just mentioned to meet current zoning code. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions. The applicant, the owner are also here.
have any pictures for the deck or anything? Backside.
I do not know. Let me check quick on the file. As a matter of fact, we should have it probably not here at the hearing room. It might be back on my desk.
Couple of questions
Yes.
for staff. We received some letters concerning neighbors, and in these letters, there were quite a bit of concerns, such as numerous illegal constructions, proposed house being used as a church, and so forth. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yes. I did get those emails as well, and I got some phone calls from the people who wrote those emails. I did consult with my supervisor as well about the claims that the house is being used as church. But the fact remains that if a homeowner has guests over, what they do in their own house, we cannot really,
Okay.
I don't know how we would go about regulating
I just want to address their concern.
Yes, and about the illegal structures, the main one that I had was regarding the deck. And that's why the second I got that concern, I went out there, met with the owner, and looked at it, made it clear
newly
that
added two-car garage.
it's a newly added two-car garage, but doesn't mean it's illegal. So
Okay. My second question is, looking at the 50% diagram, can you, and maybe I can ask the architect, does this represent the walls that are coming out? I mean, maybe
that would be the second floor.
this is
up
the
on the
outline of the second floor. So on the first floor, the exterior walls remain,
Yes, yes.
except whatever the square footage they've
Correct.
called for. Okay, well, let's call the applicant, and then we can ask him more questions. Chris Hahn? You filed for, do you want to present? You can state your name and address, please.
My name is Christopher Han, and 3055 Wilshire Boulevard, suite number 800, Los Angeles, California, 9001.
Can you explain a little bit about, for me to understand, what you're saying is the total square footage, this is the footprint of the existing house, correct?
Yes,
And this is where your second floor is being added, yes? The hatched area.
yes,
Okay. What you're saying is the overall is 1,219 square feet. And what you're saying is this hatched area, without even calculating, you're saying out of the 200 square feet, only 390 square feet of that is this hatched area. So this little area that is left is 830 square feet. Is that what you're saying? All I'm trying to do is I want to make sure that your numbers are correct, because once these get set in stone and you determine, you will need to obey by this, because the 50% rule kicks in. In doing this diagram, it just seems to be incorrect to my eyes, but I'm not the person who's measuring. So.
yeah,
So,
I mean,
okay.
that's pretty
Okay,
much,
all right.
we try to minimize the 50%
Okay.
exceeding the 50.
Now, have you decided on the deck, what you're going to be doing on the deck?
We are going to remove that.
You're going to remove the deck. So we will put it as a condition that the deck will be removed. Okay. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Pretty much you asked all of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public session is closed. Okay, so as part of our conditions, we're going to put a condition that the deck will be removed, so there won't be if they'll do this, if they do that. We'll just set it straight for you. Would you like to go first?
Well, after reading the staff report, I pretty much agree with staff that the massing needs to be modulated a bit more, and sides and the back are pretty flat, pretty straight. in reading some of these concerns from the neighborhood, I guess it's sort of changed the opinion of whether the house should be enlarged at all, but I think in fitting with the neighborhood, since it is lower than the street, the two-story wouldn't be too disruptive to the overall look of the street. Maybe there's concern about the construction of the building. I'm not sure if that's what you're going to look into, but I just think that the overall massing needs to be articulated a little bit better. And I also think that the stucco, where you have it changed from a rough stucco to a smooth stucco, I don't really see what reason for changing it. And if you're going to try to do something different, to do something completely different with a different kind of material versus just changing the rough to smooth. And in general, rough stucco is never really that attractive. So I wouldn't anytime recommend using a rough stucco. And a smooth stucco would be just fine for the whole thing. Also, I think you have it on the corners, which I think is a little incongruous. And the balcony in the back, I think, is a little out of place. The railing that you've chosen doesn't match the simplicity of the home. I understand that the front of the house, you're keeping it as existing. I usually like to see more of an entrance statement, so it's you know where the front door is. It's more of a curb appeal type of thing. I know you're not changing that, but I'm wondering, since some of these windows, the door's going to be changed to swing a bit. The windows are going to be changed out. Maybe in looking at the overall addition, to also look at what the front of the house looks like, and adding a little bit to that to help with breaking up the mass. What else did I have to say? I think that's about my main concerns. Sorry.
I'm going to add that pretty much I agree with the staff report and what my colleague said. I think the applicant, the architect, you need to take it to the next level. There's some issues with the envelope of the whole design. You need to tie the first floor and the second floor together to make it more the language together. It looks like right now, by looking at upper perspective drawing, you could see that the entrance looks like a side elevation. I think you need to. I know you're trying to keep like the addition, but the existing, but I think you need to make the entrance as an entrance, not like a side access door, and a little bit more articulation. Try to bring in the back to the front and articulate to make it the first and the second floor as a one. And then also I would suggest the character. It's too not. I'm not going to call simple, but there's something missing. It needs a little bit more character. The windows. You need to detail the elevations to bring in the whole architecture. You need more architectural elements into it. Maybe the colors, and it's too. It's like faded. The railing also. Maybe you need to introduce different elements in the front to make it look like a two-story house than a addition in the back. Accidental addition. It looks like accidental addition in the back right now. It doesn't. It's not complete. I guess the rest. That's about it. I think you need to go back to the drafting table.
Okay.
Can I add something? I just looked at this photo that you had as a sample home. This home, although it's simple and it has one material on the outside, it has a articulation and it's sort of a modern statement that says it has a presence, that it has a unique. It's interesting to look at without being overly complicated and decorative. So if that's what you're trying to go for, I think you're in the right path. But it's just that this isn't there. And, the landscaping and the deck being close to the house and all that stuff that goes with it, when you look at windows and downspouts and lighting and everything that goes on a house, adds to that. So if you could just look at all of that and come back with something that maybe speaks closer to this than what you currently have. I kind of respond to that picture.
I like this. I wish. I mean, this is nice.
Yeah, it's
And-
simple, so I
yeah,
think that's
this
what
is
they're trying to
simple
go
and
for.
has a character. I mean, I think you should follow this as a concept. I think it's easily achievable. The railing, the balcony, and the windows, and all that.
The issue that I've always had, and I'm going to state this again, is when the applicant meets with staff and staff comes up with a list of concerns and questions, it just completely baffles me why the applicants persist on moving ahead with the design review when there are issues there. I'm not sure what it's being tried to achieve by coming in front of us, and there's a lot of apparent issues with these. And if the applicant tells the planner tells the applicant there are these items, there are massing issues, there are material issues, there are detailing issues, there are railing issues, there are other, and coming in front of us and trying to change our mind or tell us that, okay, the staff is wrong and we're right, and the amount of information that we've gotten and the sample that we cannot approve a set of project based on what it can be built on. We're going to approve a project what it's been drawn and presented in front of us. So based on this is not being proposed. None of these, if these details are being used, you don't have any overhangs on this detail. It's a very modern approach to it. The shingles come to the edge. You have these outlines of the forms that are created. But right now you created this flat eave soffit area on the second floor. You just placed a hat on top of it. You create a very modest, typical addition that we see. This is not a typical addition. The gutters are square. The detailing of that, how it's proportioned. The windows are centered. You got one type of a window on the existing. You're using another. There's no information there for us to completely understand what you're proposing. And if you're going through that extent of redoing the stucco for the entire building, adding a second floor, adding these windows, unproportioned windows, placing a window, one at this corner, and then the other one center, and this one being center, and so forth, and coming up with all these details there that has nothing to do with what it's being proposed, I just don't know what to say. I mean, you got neighbors against it, you got everybody saying, okay, we need this redesign. So the approach of the applicant needs to be that this is a gem. We need to approve this because boom, 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 and, break it down. And I somewhat confused of seeing all this expense being presented and put on this building, added on second floor and all of this. And I'm not sure why you haven't noticed what you have as far as the front entry presence. Why aren't you addressing that? You got a flat elevation with flat entry door with this thing sticking out. Just, it's there, but why not address that? Very simple, maybe change of door, maybe going with frosted glass, I don't know, or something different than what you would see. There's a lot of these issues. The railings, this is a modern railing. You got a horizontal breakup. You got a vertical picket fence you will probably find off of Home Depot or something. I need to see materials. I need to see details in order for this simple architecture to be accepted by me. So I'm not sure adding stone is the right thing. I'm not sure breaking this up with these reveals and just changing the color with a very subtle shade of different shades of beige is the answer. Maybe, I'm not sure if part of it is smooth, part of it is textured. I don't know. I'm not sold on that. So if you're gonna try to sell this design, this is not sellable. I mean, and I'm not gonna be able to approve this. There's a lot of these issues, and I can go one by one, I can go step by step. There's windows that you're creating, you're addressing the steps inside, but you're not turning around and looking at outside what you're creating. You're creating this off-center window. We're approving your exterior look. We don't care what is happening on the inside. But you're addressing some of these exterior look based on what you want to see on the interior. And you're creating these little window right on top of the bed, which privacy issue comes in and so forth and whatever. But that has not, we're not going to talk about that right now. So I'm not really sure how to go about this. I agree that we need to return for redesign on this, but if you insisted on this photo, I'm assuming that the whole thing is based on what this is.
If I may jump in, that
Yes.
photo was just brought in before just before the meeting for the stucco material and where the rough goes to smooth.
That's it.
Just a sample of stucco, exactly.
Just a sample of the
Yes.
stucco. Okay, then
It's
forget
not
what
a
I said.
sample of what
Throw
they're
this
trying to do.
project out. Look at this. This is a good example. As simple as that.
Well, because I sort of found that there's a railing on here, so then, the stucco?
Where
So I don't even notice.
the
I just and
transition
you,
is between
you haven't
the
even
two.
followed that. You haven't even followed that.
that's right.
That follows the perimeter of the wall. And
Yeah.
right now you
Same
created
deal.
a band in the center. So
And it has a nice vertical window, but it makes sense on this elevation versus the one they have on the staircase on that elevation, which
right.
doesn't look vertical and doesn't look centered.
And in your package it says example house built.
Yeah.
And that's what we had in our package. So
Yeah.
but
There's also two other exhibits that talk about the metal
Well, this one?
but
joint.
you go into the extent of bringing reveal examples, but you don't even have a sample of the window that you were proposing. The window is the biggest thing. It's the most predominant part of this design. We need to see the sample of the window. What is it going to look like? Are you replacing the existing? Are you putting something new that matches the existing? I really don't see the calculations.
I don't know why we're even discussing the stucco. I mean, the design
Yeah.
needs to be reworked.
Yeah.
I mean, we're wasting time. I mean, that's...
The design is not stucco. The design is the entire building, and how it's like Mr. Jean-Pierre said, how the two come together is going to be the main massing issue that needs to get resolved. How these two masses come together, then the details, and then the doors, and then the stucco finishes. A lot of effort has gone into show us what the stucco is going to look like, and that's why all the talk is going. But you're absolutely right. The entire design needs to be looked at. It's a very simple addition, and the simple additions, the only thing that will make it or break it are the details.
Well,
So-
and the massing.
And the mass.
And the massing.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at this plan, it's saying, okay, the roof is different, the volumes are shifted.
Right.
So that's helping it, even though it's simple.
Right.
In achieving what it wants to
The whole
achieve.
envelope.
What I
Yes,
would
the whole
recommend is look in the packet. There are a lot of examples that we have. I mean, this is not the first that I've seen the addition on the second floor. There's been many, many different examples that in the same type of architecture that we've approved. Creating a two-story straight volumes, not addressing the front entry with the window, with the door flush with the exterior wall. All of those things are not helping your design. So I think looking at some examples kind of give you an idea where we stand and what we'd like to see and how the directions of each design has gone and evolved and what has been approved. And they're worthy enough to go into the book. So I think that would be a great start for you to kind of go back and look at this. Remember, you're going to have one more shot on this. If you don't get this right, then that's it. Yes.
If I may, the staff, I think that what we've heard is in substantial agreement with what is in the staff report, with additional with additional information as well. So my question is, if we could take the recommended conditions in the staff report as a point of departure and add what you've expanded upon for the record of decision. If you'd like us to read these out loud so that there's a clear understanding. In the staff report, the recommended conditions, number 1, redesign the massing to differentiate the ground floor and the second floor at both side elevations. And number 2, which is related to that, redesign the massing at the rear to eliminate the vertically oriented appearance. That, if I may expand on that, these are suggestions that staff made that are specific as possible to the proposal that was put forth. While we understand that there are many different options for design if there's a redesign, these were in response to what was given. So perhaps the very first condition should be, as you've stated, review some of the examples that have been previously reviewed by the DRB in order to give some clues to the best redesign for the project. And then we could say 2 and 3, for example, redesign the massing in these ways. These are suggestions we're throwing out so that we can craft a record of decision. 3, introduce an additional material for the exterior finish to help enhance the architecture, as well as reduce the overall massing of the second story as viewed from the sides and rear. That condition is intended to address the rough stucco, smooth stucco conundrum, because
I think that's a good point, but to be honest with you, this example that they brought, I mean, it's just pure stucco box, but you know, the way that the massing has been done, the masses create these different, you know, the volumes. But I think introducing different material, what I'm afraid of is that they're going to go and come back with some stone veneer and call it a day, and
Right.
be very, you know, if we're going to call it you know, so I want to make sure that the answer is not just blocking a veneer on and come back and say, okay, we met number 3. The idea is to...
So if it's more in keeping with the board's consideration, we could use these 2 and 3 to craft a condition regarding redesigning the massing, and then have 2 general conditions, for example. One condition that says all materials should reinforce the overall design, which is a basic principle that we talk with all our applicants about. And we could say, for example, different materials can be used to accentuate different forms. And then we would have the general condition that all materials all materials and details should be of high quality in keeping with the overall design. And we could also add, because this is what we've heard from you, particularly in a simple design, the crafting of the details is of utmost importance. So that may, if what I've described captures the essence of your discussion, that will help us work with the applicant towards the next solution.
Okay. Whatever style he's going to decide, I mean, he might change. I mean, if he's going to go towards modern ranch, well, he needs to decide what type of material he wants, or stucco, or mix it with the panels, sidings, and all that.
So we can include that whatever material choices they should be consistent with the overall architecture.
Whatever they decide.
Right, whatever they decide. If they continue with a simple design, we have that caveat, because this is something we've heard from you tonight, and we've heard that rather consistently, that if it's a more simple design, there's more attention on the details, because in essence, the success of the building rises and falls on the details and materials coming together.
Also, we need to add condition that, well, we're not approving it, so it's returned for redesign, so.
For the deck?
For the-
Well, we will include that, number 7, remove portions of the wood deck at the rear of the property to 6 feet from the interior property lines to meet current code. We could also say remove the deck entirely if that's your preference.
Well, if that's what they're asking, that's what they're saying that they'll do. Go ahead.
Well, actually, I'm kind of representing Mr. Kim as an architect, and I didn't have previous, knowledge about the wood deck. But according to the owner, and they tend to move the wood deck about 2 feet to their property lines instead of just removing whole wood deck.
2 feet?
Yeah.
No, it has to be 6 feet.
6 feet. Sorry about that. That's
So they need to move in from both sides.
Yeah.
From
As
the
long
back.
as it complies with the,
There's not much going to be left from this.
Well, they can stick it in the middle of the yard.
I don't even know how big is this deck. Something like.
And also, I was kind of a bit surprised about, about the design critic, but I think that's one of our architects' kind of struggle, that we have to meet the budget with the designs. I think that's how he came up with trying to minimize the cost of the.
I'm not saying to
Yeah, but
extra, jazz it up. We're saying to take care of the design that you've
Yeah.
done, and if
So-
you're going with a simple design, I think the details are the only thing that we don't have information on the plans. We don't have anything. So I think
we can kind of probably work together for the next session for the better design on this.
it'll be up to you and staff to come
Yeah.
up with something. But know that you only have about a foot left of that deck by the time you meet the 6-foot setbacks. So, okay, all right. Thank you.
A couple of additions that we also heard in the discussion. There was, I think, a unanimous agreement that the front of the house should be also enhanced, particularly the entry enhanced, and the overall building should be designed in an integrated manner. And there was a request for additional information on all details and materials. So we'll add that to the record of decision.
All right, do we have a motion?
A motion for redesign with the following conditions that Stephanie has listed.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, this will be a roll call. Mr. Baladian?
Yep.
Ms. Sakai?
Yes.
Chairman Malikian?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 3-0.
Rather, are you up next? Okay.
Ready?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. The next item before you is case number 2 PDR 2009-042-A. The property is located 906 East Harwood Street, and this project is being submitted for the first time for final review. The applicant is proposing to construct a new 2-story detached unit at the rear of the property, as well as 2 double-car garages for those 2 units. The new units will be 1,680 square feet, and the existing 1-car garage as well as workshop will be demolished, and there is also a room to the rear of the existing residence that will also be demolished, which is located right here. This room was not permitted. The existing property right now, as it stands, has a single-family house. That house is approximately 1,597 square feet, and it was developed in 1912. If I may point out, the existing house, as reflected in the photos, has been modified to a certain degree, as evidenced in the window replacement, the door replacement, as well as potentially other removal of cladding material. This property is located in the R2250 zone, which is medium density zone. The property, given its shape, its lot size, and zone, actually is permitted to have 3 units, but the applicant is proposing a total of 2 units, 1 existing and 1 new. The subject site is rectangular. It's located in an area where you will find multifamily buildings that will build under different sets of zoning code, as well as single-family residences of various architectural style. The proposed site planning of the project appear appropriate in this case, given the number of units and the lot size, and also in comparison with other developments of this scale. The existing landscape will remain. The proposed landscape will be to the rear, and also the common space will be located between the 2 units. Other areas of the lot will be dedicated to the driveway, as well as turning radius for the 2 garages. Total 28% of landscape will be provided overall. As you can see on the elevation, the proposed unit shows well articulated walls. A variety of building materials and colors are also incorporated into the building. These materials help break up the mass, as well as the mass of the building, and the second floor also is set back all the way around, for the most part, with the inclusion of balconies to the rear and to the street-facing facade. Now, the project exhibits a contemporary style, which appears consistent given the eclectic nature of the neighborhood. The gable roofs are carried all throughout the structure, which mimics the roof of the existing residence. So there's consistency there. And also, there's the detailing and the used material also supports the style that has been chosen. The designers proposing to use a variety of material and colors, such as brick, stucco, metal railings, as well as aluminum windows. And the existing house, this is an elevation that shows both the existing residence and the proposed residence to the rear. He is proposing to tie the 2 buildings together by the incorporation of brick at the front and around the side of the house, as well as a trellis, which also is being proposed for the balcony and on the ground floor of the proposed unit. The combination of materials and color help tie the 2 units together, so there's a cohesiveness between the 2. Overall, staff recommends approval of this project with some conditions. And there's a typo in the staff report. I've stated that there are no wall or fences located on the property. There is actually a fence, so that is not meeting code. And also, just to point out, the window replacement appear to be illegal as well, so that would have to be legalized at the front unit. I did not see any building permits for that. So staff recommends approval of this project with some conditions. For the brick, use face brick, not brick veneer, should be incorporated into the design wherever brick is shown. Driveway surface should be pervious. Right now, the driveway is proposed to be impervious, comprising of just concrete. Landscape material should be drought tolerant or consist of California-friendly plants. Garage door should be fiberglass or of a simple panel design, as reflected on the elevation drawing. The entry door of the new unit should be of a simple design, also as reflected on the north elevation. And this is another condition staff would like to recommend to the board, is that anodized aluminum windows should be used, preferably in a color that complements the overall color scheme. And remove the existing railing located in the front setback. And that concludes my presentation.
Are the front windows existing?
Yes, but they will replace without permits.
They were replaced without permit.
Correct.
Okay.
So in this case, the applicant is proposing to dress it up a little by providing some trims, which mimic also what's being proposed at the rear.
So the back proposed, I see that they have no grids,
Yes.
the windows. And the front house has a mix of grid and non-grid windows.
At this elevation?
This is just a different color. That is a band, yes. That is a band going across as well as a color. The designer is here to explain further. If
Are
you
they
have-
proposing white windows all over on both?
Right now, he's calling out aluminum windows.
What color?
White.
White?
Uh-huh.
Like a brown trim.
With a brown trim, correct. So we're suggesting that anodized aluminum window of maybe a color that complements the stucco or...
Existing windows are.
And then the brick, is that
I-
existing brick?
No, that's a new material
It's
altogether.
a new material.
Yes, this is not there right now for the front unit.
House.
Oh, it's a proposed. What is it right now?
Stucco.
All the
Stucco.
windows are done illegally in the front
Yes,
house, right?
yes,
But all the windows in the front house? All the way around?
all the way around. So what the applicant is attempting to do with the front unit is to actually tie the new and the existing in a way that makes sense and agreeable with each other.
Is it Aram Natsakanyan?
My name is Aram Natsakanyan, 910 South Glendale. I'm an applicant of this project. Actually, we work a lot on this project with the Radar and the Stephanie. And the Radar already told you everything and he show you a lot of things and questions. If you have more at the questions, just I can add only we are doing actually the white windows, the white aluminum windows, because of an existing house has the same thing, but in order to keep the back unit and the front unit like a similar way, we are adding the wooden trim next to both in a front unit and in a back unit too. Also, brick everywhere is new actually. If you see an existing front elevation right over there, it looks very poor. So we try just to add some more accent in the front unit because of from the street actually the back unit is not visible. Only the front unit is visible, and we try to maintain it as it possible. If you have more questions.
I
Please.
still don't understand this west elevation in the front. This is one plane, correct? The existing
Yeah.
house? So what is going on with
Actually, that too.
this line?
Can I come and show it there?
Yes, please.
Actually, if you look at the front elevation, there is with this trellis and the band over here. The trellis is finishing here, and over there is only the band. If you see right over here, the trellis is finishing here and it's going like this, and the turning like this. I want to make actually the two different color of the stucco for the front elevation to make more at the break that mass whatever you see in existing elevation over there. And in order to, I don't want to finish that color in a corner, just like this. This one is different color, here is different color. That's why I just band the same color in a corner and finish it with the line of the window. This at the trim, a stucco color, and the brick in the bar.
Two different color stuccos.
Yes, two different color of stuccos.
You know, I like that stucco color than what you're proposing there. The color.
You mean the color over here?
The rendering color is much better than the
This one,
actual.
the darker color? That one?
Right here,
Yeah.
right here. This one looks, I think,
I'm gonna try to get the other
you
company
need to
maybe.
match.
Because the company whatever we are using, those was the like the closest color to this. But I'm gonna use another company.
I think this color, it's working.
Or maybe we are gonna just paint it because the paint giving more choices actually than to do the color stucco. We can paint it the color whatever is here.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any more questions? All right, thank you.
I need to be clarified, if the windows were illegally installed.
So we're approving it. If we like it, we approve it.
Okay. I like the articulation. It's a nice, overall, I don't have any problem, but few suggestions, maybe if my colleagues think that maybe it'll be a condition. The front entrance door, it's more like a modern craftsman. I think the front entrance door, I would like, it doesn't go with the design, the architecture, the front entrance door. The windows, I have a problem with the grids. I think without the grids works better. And I would like make a condition to get rid of the grids. And then introduce the white is not working with the style. I think you need, if you're doing all that work in the back and the front, it's illegal windows. I think we should introduce maybe a colored windows to complement the color scheme. I like the railings. The bricks, I don't have any problem with the bricks. Maybe tone it down a little bit, maybe more gray in it.
Well, that's the color.
That's the color.
Or reddish.
I think it's
I don't know.
it's
What do you
light
think?
over there. I think
Yeah.
it's darker. I don't have a problem.
But I do have, I think the colors,
Yeah.
they have it there on the presentation.
It's much better.
It's much better. I wouldn't go. I mean, everything else, I like the roof material color, the accent colors, except for the stucco colors. This is more, it makes it better. The door front entrance changes to more like a craftsman style door. And then the windows, pretty much. Garage doors are fine. It's a nice project. I think if he make those changes, I think it will be better. That's about it.
Sure. Well, I also like the project. I think you've listened to staff recommendations and worked with them in trying to give it something interesting to look at, but also fits with the neighborhood. Pick nice muted colors that kind of give it a style that reflects what the neighborhood's about. I have the same concerns that you do with the door, front door. It looks like a Victorian Home Depot stock kind of thing. It doesn't really go with the rest of what you're doing. That's an easy fix. And the windows, I kind of have this problem with making someone replace all their windows when they're just trying to add another house. So I don't know.
Remember, they've done it.
The
I know they've
the
done it
windows were
legally.
replaced without a permit.
And I'm also trying to figure out if these windows, if they're in good shape or not, because I can't really tell from the photos. If they're old and leaky and they're not really meeting energy codes, it would probably be a good idea to replace them, because then you can get a better building envelope and also get some money for putting them in. You could, that would help out with your window replacement costs for energy savings. So I don't know, I guess that would be a staff thing. For me, it's not more of a condition. It would
I
be
think
nice
we can
to
make
have.
it as a condition that make sure that if they're going to remain, it has to be energy efficient.
Okay, yeah, so I would say that.
So
What else did I? Oh, and then I just had that To me, that west elevation where the break and the different colors, I know probably no one's ever going to see that. To me, it just kind of bugs me that it breaks at the window. I think the window wants to breathe, and so the idea of wrapping the color around the, maybe it ends in a trim on the corner or something that it doesn't have to wrap quite so far in and encompass that first window. It also seems like a break because that trim on the top takes that color all the way past. I don't know. It just.
What Member Sakai? Are you referring to the existing residence?
West elevation, how it just ends at the window.
Oh, okay.
This doesn't feel right. I like how the planter goes across, but maybe that also ends somewhere more in this range. Or
So maybe
the trim
midway
ends
between the two windows?
Or maybe the planter goes across and trim comes down, and then this trim comes across, and then.
Is the stucco smooth? Or what are they proposing?
It has a texture
The
to it.
sand texture.
Uh-huh.
A sand
Yes,
texture?
mhm.
I would like smooth stucco.
Probably. Even now you're talking maybe that, as a recommendation, maybe the brick to concrete even.
This brick
Yeah.
is a concrete
And
planter.
it'll look,
Well, I like the. This is a nice rich. And like you said, the color in the sample board, it's more of a reddish brick.
well, it's
It's a used brick. Yeah. I think if we keep with the more
a
dark
little modern.
colors, you wouldn't put concrete up here. And then
But if he's doing a smooth stucco, little textured, and then you do that smooth concrete finish color, will give that little contemporary look too. And as a it's a recommendation. I don't have a problem with it.
Right, so looking at what you have and what you came up with, I think it's a huge improvement. I think a little bit of a fine tuning of certain things, I think it'll be a great project. I think it's a great example after we're done, and I think it's going to be a great improvement, and I'm very happy to see something like that. Couple of things that it sticks out, and it's been kind of, I just want to tear it off. It's not doing anything. It's the trellises. I'm not sure where this angled trellis is coming from. I'm not sure if the trellis is even doing anything. I know you want to create some entry, you want to create some interest, maybe some modern elements there, but there's definitely other features there that rather than using cables with this architecture, so I don't know if it's really that's the answer for it. The second thing is you use color. The way I'm looking at it really quickly, and if you can kind of see, and you use materials and colors to, and I don't know if you knew about this or you did it by accident or how it came about, but you're accentuating volumes, and volumes are being set by different materials and colors. You have this entry piece, which is brick, you have this as a darker piece, you have a white, and so forth. And the same thing on this side. You have an element here which is clearly cut off. You have another material here, you have a darker material. You accentuated this white, this box. The thing that is kind of odd for me, and I think we kind of touched upon this, is how this paint, this white paint comes around, becomes this little sliver around and goes up on top and comes down. And it's just, there's nothing there that it's kind of giving the same effect as you would have here or here or here. So I think by addressing this somehow, to address the canopy and addressing the color, I think combination of those two is going to be a good starting point for you to address that. I think this is more of a mistake than thought process. It's just by default your line is set based on the door height. So you pick the stock 2x12 and you put it on top, and that's what you have left with. and that's what it is. But I don't think it should be that way. I mean, you can literally create, maybe you can even cut this off and put some, siding, maybe shingle siding or something, to create some effect there on the top, or something there that kind of gives this volume, give this breakup. It just, when you look at it really quickly, this is what you're getting here, which it's not a true form that you've created with these elements there, which are the true forms, true volume. So I think, and then addressing wrapping, I understand what you're trying to do to wrap the color in, but coloring a piece of paper and drawing a line, and you say up to this line you have brown, and then from here is white, that doesn't make a statement. It's not really solving the problem. I know you understand there's a situation and a problem with paint. It solves some of it, but stopping it straight line, the painter's gonna put a tape there and they're gonna paint it up to that line. That's not a solution. One idea is maybe that this volume, and these are just thoughts, this volume comes in and becomes a column here, and this side here becomes all dark, or maybe wood siding or something, and comes around, and then this wraps down. And then, so you have this termination point at some level. I don't know why it's right at the edge of this window. I don't know if I would bring it right here. I would probably center this window and bring that in.
Make
and
a
then
fake
create
wall there. Build a fake wall,
or
like
even
6
or
inch.
even build it out like
A 6 inch.
or
There is a
something
volume.
there, or
To have a-
volume
or something there.
Well, it's kind of like the idea, if you had just the
Well-
front, if you just adjust the front and just made the front something unique, the bottom
Yeah,
and
and,
the so it
it
comes
doesn't
out for
have
like
to
a
be
little
a
trellis.
Exactly.
over the windows, over the door, encompasses whatever the
Right.
front material is. Then it doesn't have to wrap around the building because the building is
Right.
wrapped by the lighter color.
Exactly.
I mean, like Alan said, I mean, maybe pony up a little bit, like a 6 inch return here. That way you could have a.
I just think that this
It will look
is not a
nice.
pure form as you created the
Right.
rest of the house. It looks like a mistake, and it's whatever you're left with, and that's what I'm going to deal with. Yeah, just something there, anything.
You should just, like you just said, end it here or have it just be about this.
I don't
No,
know.
return it.
Maybe
You want to
that.
return it, but then it returns just at the ends on both sides, so the front
you
is
return it
something.
here.
Maybe that you raise this up. Maybe that you fill this up. Maybe it's a heavier piece there. Maybe it's a heavier. I don't know. It's something there that kind of gives you a termination point for
Then you
this
go
volume.
somewhere here, terminate, like
Yeah, or something.
How many lines does it take to read
Now, the other issue that I have as I have a very, very tough time approving a legal addition. I have a very tough time, and I've had this many years, and I just can't allow people to go and do, whereas other people go through hell and back to get something approved, and somebody goes and does it, and they expect us to approve it. I need to put that condition. That is going to be very important. If we're going to allow them to keep what's there, it has to meet the energy efficiency. That I cannot. I mean, the design is more discretionary, but energy efficient is going to affect a lot of people. So energy efficiency is very important. The other thing is that if we're going through all this extent of redoing this entire front, doing this back, I think we need to spend a little bit of time and money to jazz up the front windows. Removing the grids, I think it's a great idea. I don't know if it's possible, if it is or it's not, but what I want to do is I want to put these, the trims or whatever, the members in line with these breakups, so it creates these similar to what you've created along the back. So maybe a divider or some sort of wood member that it goes in that space.
Just say break up the larger
The-
window
the-
into two
into like
windows.
maybe 1, 2, 3 here and 1, 2, 3 there. And I don't know if it's slider, if it can happen or not. But I think something needs to happen. And if it looks bad, I would suggest take them out and put a new one, put in a wood windows. or something that it really, after spending all this time and money, it's just going to be pennies to a dollar for you, but it's going to really, really accentuate the front entry. It's going to give you the curb appeal.
I think the window's going to make this project.
I
even
think
better.
so too.
I think it needs-
so too. And I love the contrast of the dark and the light.
Mhm.
I think it's really a really good thing. Again, I want to go back one step back on these canopies. I really think that these canopies are not doing anything. I mean, these angled canopies. I know you want to have this modern gesture to it, but I don't think that's the solution. It's not going to do anything. It's not even facing the right. You got the north facing north, and you put in canopies facing north. It's not even going to do anything as far as lighting. So it's, if you want to add an element, if you want to do anything, think about more of a solid piece or. And the last thing I want to say is the gutters on this, and I don't know if you're going to put gutters in. You're going to have roof dumping on top of the second floor and so forth. So I don't know if you are going to put gutter, I would recommend more of a square gutter, more of a square downspouts rather than these cars that they stop by and they roll out these gutters, these ugly looking gutters, and then just put in them. So I want those to be definitely best properly.
What's in the details? Well, see, I like the little trellis above to separate the windows from the door. Because in this elevation, it's really flat.
No, I agree. I think trellis. Well,
You're saying it's the angle of the trellis that you're kind of.
I just hate that triangular. It's not doing
Because
anything.
it's a craftsman style gesture, and then he puts this very modern angle.
I think he needs to keep it straight.
I
Probably will
think
work better.
he can go back to the concept of craftsman and the post and beam detailing, and maybe generate that and take that to the next step and make it a little bit more modern. Maybe expose rafters. Maybe the support is made out of steel and the supports are wood, or I don't know. I mean,
But you're not
something
saying get
different.
rid of it.
No, I'm not saying get rid
Oh,
of
I
it.
thought you were saying
No,
you didn't
I'm
want
not
it.
saying get rid of it at all. What I'm saying is putting this angled trellis
Right.
that
No, I
it's
agree.
fading to zero, and it's
And it doesn't really provide
And
you
it's-
a different
it's-
shade type of thing. It's just this little gesture.
exactly and
Maybe.
cables going back. And cables may work, may not work, but I don't think this is doing anything.
What I thought you were saying. Just get rid of
No,
it.
no,
He needs
no.
to
Yeah.
clean up. No,
To-
he needs it there.
To clarify that, I think what I heard as well, to maybe simplify the trellis over the entry, and what I thought I heard, just
What
to
I'm trying to say
clarify,
is I don't like this
that
triangle.
the angle, yeah.
Maybe it's squared off. Or
Okay.
maybe that, you got a
It's a
smaller
porch.
member, you got these members on top of that, and I don't know.
So you're not opposed to it being there, you're not opposed to it extending above that window, as long as it's integrated with the design properly?
It can definitely work to their benefit to figure out a way to wrap this thing around, but putting this triangular piece that comes to the end and then, putting these cables supporting, it just doesn't work for me.
Now, Chairman Malakian and member of the board, another consideration to take in mind is that you earlier suggested maybe a fake wall on the west elevation or east elevation to.
What we were trying to
That-
say is that not a fake wall, but like a furring or some sort of a furred element there, so that this paint can dye into, and that can also be this fascia board or something, and it can be part of this trellis that they're going to work that out. Maybe that part of the trellis
It wraps around, it comes and
wraps
comes down.
around, and then maybe the column or support or something that comes down, or I don't know.
It doesn't look right. Right now you have two stucco, different colors coming.
I
It's
just
not
picked the
going to
line
look
out.
clean.
I
You have
complete-
the window and all that. It doesn't look right.
I completely agree, but the only thing is that if there's a condition to address that by putting some sort of wall or any other
Wall.
types of appendages,
No.
he will run into a setback problem because the setback on that site now is legal non-conforming.
He's going to run into the same problem when
At
he
the
puts
front,
this fascia board in this one, and if that's what you're
Well,
saying.
Yeah, no, the front you can allow up to 30 inches to project into the setback.
And then what about the side?
The side, if it's a wall, no.
But if it's a fascia,
Some sort of architectural detailing,
Trellis.
that will work, yes. Uh-huh.
What we're saying.
So if the trellis comes over and there's a board that, like how it terminates,
okay.
and the trellis kind of overhangs that, so it looks like a support.
Uh-huh.
The
Then that-
trellis
that
can
makes
go
it-
over
Then you're
into
then
the side setback,
Yeah.
right?
the overhang.
Well, if we can consider it as an architectural
That's what it is.
detailing to the project,
That's
yes,
what it
it can
is.
be in the setback to
I
a
just
certain
think-
to a certain distance.
You know, even if that doesn't wrap around, I think that the fascia board needs to somehow.
Separate.
The paint shouldn't be.
Yes.
It shouldn't divide the two colors.
Yes.
A board needs to divide
Yeah,
the two
color
colors.
shouldn't be used to differentiate between.
Well, paint. There's a
Paint.
tape line and say
Yeah.
it's painted. It's not. It's different paint. There's a material there that
And
separates.
on top
There's
of it, you have a
reason.
window even on top of it. Doesn't look like. Maybe he needs to terminate that color, maybe 12 to 24 inch before the window.
Now, the other issue that I would recommend highly, or if you have windows that are being placed in, and depending on, are they going to have to go through the building department to legalize these windows?
Yes.
Okay. So the windows are going to be set closer than 5 feet to the property line. So those need to be rated if they're within 3 to 5 feet of the property line along that side, on top of being the energy efficient.
Maybe they
And
should change those windows.
So, I don't know, by the time you're done to legalize them, you may end up removing them and replacing them, but anyhow. Do we want to listen to some of the conditions and concerns and recommendations? And
Well, overall, I think the board, what I heard is that the design is appropriate, but there's some changes that may further enhance the overall look of the building, both the existing and the new. Particularly, staff heard that the front entrance door, I'm not sure whether this was a reference to the existing unit or the back unit.
the existing unit.
Existing unit.
Existing door,
Existing front unit.
So the door of the rear unit is fine.
Door of the rear is fine.
Okay. So the front entrance door of the existing unit does not, is not appropriate with the overall style of the house.
Let me,
Should be craftsman style, that's what I heard.
the door in the back. Do you have a picture or spec on
It's
that?
glass. And
It's glass.
I mean, it's drawn. I don't know if it's just drawn that way or it's going to be custom made or what is it? Because I never seen a door that type.
Because staff believes that that proposed door is appropriate, we're saying that it should be the same as what's reflected on the elevation. So if it needs to be custom made, then
Are you going to custom made it? I mean,
well, or just replace it. Doesn't
because
it have to
sometimes people, applicants, designers, architects, they draw a door and then they can't find it.
yes.
I mean, then they're going to build.
They
It
put in
happens.
whatever. They go to Home Depot and they pick a
They
door.
don't. There isn't. If that's the door that I'm looking at, I don't think so. It's a standard door. It's a custom door. So maybe you should make sure exactly what type of door you want to put in.
I know the place where I'm going.
The same design, the height and all that.
Put the glass insert. And the glass above
Is a
the door.
frosted glass.
That one going to be plastic glass and the solid wood.
And then you have that
It's
trim
going to be stained actually the color.
of the trims.
All right.
Okay.
Let's
So
go
we
on.
just
Let's
put that in
move
there.
on.
Okay, we also heard comments about the existing windows and that the internal grids are not appropriate.
Only in the front, and where it's exposed from the street,
And you actually prefer them without grids at all?
without grids to match the back. Well,
Yes. We prefer them without grids.
No grids.
But we also said that they're not energy efficient because they're not permitted. We would say replace them. Existing windows.
Yeah, we've found that it is possible to go in and remove grids from existing windows. Often when windows are removed illegally, and I haven't visited this site, so I don't know exactly, but my guess is that they're insulated windows that were replaced for that reason, for the energy efficiency. And what because we spend a lot of time here on windows, so we know that you can actually remove the interior muntins and then somehow get the seal back. So we've done that research in the planning department. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because since we have found that that's possible, we also heard some other comments regarding the design of the windows. So if the board would like for the front windows and the ones visible from the street to be changed out for a design that is more appropriate for the overall project, then that condition is clearer for us and the applicant if that's the intent of the board.
That is the intent. Now, if they can do that, I think.
So that means not all the windows that are on the existing unit, just the one that are visible to the public right away, as well as those fronting the street.
I think it's going to be all the windows, to be honest with you, because on the west side, it doesn't show any grids. The only grids you see in the front north elevation and the east elevation, and that's visible, right? So actually, you need to replace all of them. Huh?
Remove all of them.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I don't know if this is accurate. I mean, look in the
It's
elevation.
not visible from the street. Yeah.
No, this side. I mean, it's a driveway to the back side. If it was one house, then
I kind of feel that if you just do the front, and like we were talking about the front problem with how the color's wrapping and it's the trellis, and if the front was treated separately from the sides, because the front is more visible and the sides you have to kind of go around and kind of look around the side, but that would be okay.
well, if you're standing on the corner, you're going to see both
It's
windows.
easy enough to just take it apart and pop out the
Just
mountain.
remove all the
Front
grids.
unit, 2 stories?
No, it's one story. That's an attic.
Attic?
That's an attic.
The curtain. Okay.
But you're okay with the white, because if they don't replace the windows, they're going to be white windows.
No, we're saying that the front windows to be replaced with something appropriate.
window.
Right.
Not
they're
just the
gonna-
mountain. Right.
If they're going to replace it, the front windows, I'd rather prefer to introduce a colored rather
If
than
the
white.
front window is, let's say, brown, to go with the trim, or green to complement the
Green
trim,
or brown.
then the side windows being white with no muntins, because they're the existing windows, would be incongruent. Unless you're saying that the front has a separate treatment.
No,
like
you
a trellis
replace
and
all of them.
You replace all of them. So we're going to make them replace all the windows on the whole existing house, even if they are energy efficient.
No, I don't really care about all around. I just care about the front.
How about this side? Going to the
I
back
don't think
side?
it's visible, so. I
No,
don't-
going to the separate
In the back,
house.
they're going to rip down the back little unit thing anyway.
It's up to you guys.
Well,
I mean, I
know
don't
which
need
windows
to
cause
replace
it.
I think what they can do is replace the front ones I mean, by the time they're done with this, by the time they remove the muttons and put these dividers in there, and maybe even they're aluminum, so they probably can paint it to be brown. Okay, so that will give them the look. By the time they're done with all of those things, I think they're better off just because it's just going to look terrible.
Get a new window.
Just get new windows in the front. And the side ones, I think, by putting the trims around and then just painting the window, it'll give them the darker look, and it'll just work.
I agree.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I mean, it's,
If you
you guys
passionately
making,
feel about
you guys making
Because
the
the-
motion, I'm just,
Because the windows it's going to make this project really very good. I mean, it's going to make the project very.
Well, if you had a lot of money, yeah, or if it's ground up, I would say all the windows have to be, wood with aluminum cladding. And
So where we
that's to
deciding
make them
paint the
really nice.
windows? Are they paintable? Where are they right now?
You really can't
they're
paint,
aluminum.
Can
but you
you?
put a trim around it.
I don't know.
So that's right.
Okay, well, let's move
make-
on.
Let's make a motion. I'll make a motion.
But are we done with the
No,
conditions?
Yeah, so which, are the side windows to be replaced or to be merely painted green or some other dark color?
The side?
Well, what if we compromise and so the front windows have to be replaced, right? And then you can get a color window because you're going to get your custom whatever, right? Brand new windows. And the side ones they can leave, the side and the back, they can leave.
But
with
they
the
need to
muntins,
paint it.
But they need to put the trim around it to make it consistent with the front and the new house.
And the frames has to match the colors.
Well, if they're aluminum frames, I think you can get the trim around it. The aluminum kind of just goes away
I don't know
on the
anymore.
side and the back.
Well, we need to, we can go ahead and put painting of the muttons and,
Not trim?
well, the
Adding
trims too, but somehow painted. I mean, is that?
We found that while it's not the easiest thing to do, aluminum windows can be painted in the field.
Yeah, but it's not that easy. They have to tape
It's not easy. Construction is not easy in general, but we've seen it done, and we've seen it done well at times. So we know that it can be done well.
Or was it
Maybe the
cheaper just to
applicant, we
replace
should
the
ask the
window?
But then if you do paint it, then the back windows, they're proposing white to match the front. So what do you want to do for the back windows?
If they're going to introduce a colored window in the front, they should match it in the back too.
No, they're not introducing, we're saying do it. So if we're changing it to color windows in the front,
The back has the same color too.
okay?
You can. I mean,
I-
it has to be
I don't
constant.
think it has to be a color, but
It has to be.
there's only 3 of
Yeah.
us today, so we don't.
No,
we don't
it has
have
to.
much.
The language has to carry it over all the way.
No, I agree. I don't think it should be, I think it should be all consistent.
Yeah.
In the color, if we're introducing colored ones in the front, they shouldn't be dark in the front and the side and then the back and something else. So I think at some point, it's not consistent because we're saying remove the muttons in the front, replace it with the darker windows, but then the rest of the house, we're leaving it, divided lights, and then the back, we're saying, well, let's leave it without divided lights and just no
So
divided.
take all the divided lights out in
Well-
the front.
Grids out. We agree on that. Grids out. Whether we keep the existing windows in the front or replace them, we need to introduce a different color. If they
We decided that we're replacing the
all the windows,
front ones.
front, all of them.
Yes.
Okay. So if we're agreeing on replacing all the windows on the front, then we'll request a colored window, green or brown,
Okay.
instead of white. And then whatever we decide for the front has to match in the back.
Okay.
Also like red. Like that maroon color.
Okay,
That kind
I
of
think we
goes-
settled, right?
No, man.
And grids out all around the house.
Hasta la vista, gone.
But you could do it, so.
We also heard
And then you don't have to paint them either.
a suggestion, possibly introducing another material under the front-facing gable, such as shingle siding.
Just a consideration. You guys can decide, you and Stephanie can decide on that. But I'm just saying, it just looks really odd the way it's drawn, so.
Okay, and the gutter should be square.
I think you should have a square gutters.
Did I miss anything?
I have smooth stucco shall be used.
Yes.
Is that a consideration or a condition?
Condition.
Condition.
Is that for the front unit as well, and carries
Both units.
both units? Okay.
Whatever we do in the front, we have to carry it in the back.
But are they replacing the front stucco? Yes, they are. I mean, they are, absolutely.
We're repainting.
the colors would match the elevation rendering, not the
The sample
material
board.
sample board. It has
Except
this.
for the brick. I think
Except
we
for
like
the
the
brick.
brick on the material board versus on the
Yes.
rendering.
And
This
we-
board,
Yeah, and we heard some concerns about the brick, but,
I think this is fine.
okay, so where it is on the project and what's proposed on the sample board
It's fine.
is acceptable. And then I think, are we clear on, I think we're clear on what needs to be done for the trellis and trim and at the entry, and the finish at the entry. We'll have to craft that condition more precisely, but I think we get your meaning. And when the windows in the front are replaced, what we heard is that they should be separated by, they should be essentially separate windows, not a single window, because there's a desire to have the trim, the wood trim, separate each light.
Or
So
if
that-
they can find a window that has that wood system, dividing them. And
Now, I guess the question is, if they're using a green aluminum window, would a thicker mullion there rather than the wood be sufficient to get that design intent? Because that would
think
be a
so.
little bit more
I think so.
typical than have separate windows
fine.
with trim between.
I know, like, they sell them as a unit.
Right.
Have the
And then
division.
there will be the mullions,
There's
but
separate glass
right.
pane. Yeah.
But it won't be wood continuing around. So that's acceptable. Okay, and the square profile on the gutters we have,
I think
and
staff also mentioned permeable paving in the driveway, and that would be good to have, especially in this area.
there were a few conditions recommended by staff.
Yeah, use the face brick, not the brick veneer. Number 2, the driveway should be pervious. Landscape material should be drought tolerant.
So would you like for us to include 1 through 4? I think 5 has already been
Right.
addressed as part of your conditions. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
If I may, I'm sorry, I have just two questions then. The discussion then about the way the brick wraps onto the right side elevation, will this remain part of the discussion and not a condition?
You mean the plancher on the bottom? The little facing on the bottom? On the west elevation? or
On the
north
front house, how the brick,
North elevation.
if it's the right side, if it's the right side, yes. With the planter below, you're talking about the planter could continue, but the brick shouldn't, the brick should not end at the window?
And the brick should just end wherever you're determining the end of the
Yeah,
color break.
it's not brick?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Okay. And also, there was some discussion about consider differentiating the materials with the building forms on that same elevation, consistent as it is done with other elevations?
Yeah, that we've clarified that that can't be furred out, but that can be accomplished with turning the trim With
As the
you-
zoning code permits.
as the zoning code permits.
anyone like to make a motion?
So we're motioning for approval with conditions that were listed. I'm not sure which ones we have on record there. The conditions for the windows, the,
The street-facing windows to be replaced
right here,
without grid.
staff recommendations 1 through 4, those conditions, which is face brick, the pervious driveway material, the drought-tolerant landscape material, and the fiberglass or panel design garage door. And what are the conditions we have?
I think we have them all.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I motion for approval with conditions.
I second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Ms. This will be roll call. Mr. Baladian,
Yes.
Mr. Kai,
Yes.
Chairman Malakin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we have two sets of minutes to approve tonight.
I-16. Everybody had a chance to review that?
Yeah, this was just that one correction. I think that was it,
Yeah, I
right?
believe that was incorporated.
Yeah. Fine.
We'll make a motion?
I move to approve the minutes for Thursday, July 16th.
I second.
Okay, a motion was made to approve the minutes. This will be a roll call. Ms. Sakai,
Yes.
Mr. Baladian,
Yes.
and Mr. Malikian.
Yes.
Thank you.
Should
And then we also have July 30th.
Have you guys read this one?
Yeah, it seemed fine to me. I couldn't find any corrections.
Did you read it?
You read me now?
Just wanted to go over one thing. On the second item, proposing to construct a furniture addition and a construction
It's a fenestration or penestration?
illustration. So on that one, I thought we had a lot more conditions, but I guess we broke, at the end, we just condensed it down to the basics, I guess.
And I
Right.
Compatible colors, materials, features, and style. I thought we have.
Yeah, I thought that, I think what, during the discussion, you talked about a number of things, and then what it boiled down to was they really need to relook at the whole package, and you
Okay.
didn't want to lead them down one road by saying redesign the windows.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then
Okay.
And that entryway in the
Yeah.
back house, we said to kind of look at that.
Right. Okay. Well. Okay.
Okay, so I motion to move to approve the minutes for Thursday, July 30th.
I second.
okay, a motion was made to approve the minutes of July 30th.
Sign this one.
Roll call, Ms. Sakai,
Yes.
Mr. Baladian,
Yes.
Mr. Malikian.
Yes.
Great, motion carries 3-0.
Any other news?
I believe we do.
Oh.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that on tentatively scheduled for the City Council's agenda of September 22nd are two items related to design review, and one is window replacement policy, and the second is carrying to council the results of the discussion of the study sessions we had with this board and the other board on how the process is working.
This is when,
last year.
September?
22nd. I think that's Tuesday.
Or do we need to attend this?
No, you definitely do
need
not
to.
need to attend. I'm just letting you know.
I may make myself available.
September 22nd.
So, it's tentatively scheduled at this point, but I want to let you know so you can plan.
So, September 26th, right?
Second,
Oh, second.
That's a Tuesday.
yes.
But you'll let us know if it's
Yeah.
confirmed.
Okay, then I guess we are adjourned.
Thanks.